Trooping the Colour. The ceremony held each June on Horse Guards Parade to mark the Queen's official birthday. One of the occasions where the full splendour of the Household Cavalry and the Foot Guards of the Guards Division is seen at its best. The band of the Household Cavalry includes mounted trumpeters. Their banners are heavily embroidered by hand using real gold and silver wire. And even in these days of automation, a large proportion of what makes this event such a glittering spectacle is the work of a company which holds the royal warrant for the supply of gold and silver laces, insignia, and embroidery, and has been providing this kind of service since the 17th century. Here in the embroidery workshop, Mrs. Isobel North supervises the detailed work on the Household Cavalry trumpet banners. The red damask that forms the base is kept taut on a frame, and the gold embroidery around the edge is stitched over a design which has been outlined by an artist. She paints directly onto the silk in watercolour, tracing a pattern which has originally been pricked out in chalk. The border is worked directly onto the damask, but the lion, the unicorn, and most of the other components are made up separately and then appliqued onto the body of the banner. The unicorn is cut out in white felt and worked in double silver thread. The impression of woven basket work is created by the use of small transverse stitches. Using a similar two-handed technique, gold twisted wire is laid round the shoulders of the crown. The right hand stays on top of the frame, the left hand is underneath, returning the needle. The lion, complete in every detail down to crown and glass eye, is put in position supporting the royal coat of arms with the unicorn. The garter badge is also worked separately, and even the gold fringe round the banner is handmade. Approximately 150 hours' work go into one new, complete trumpet banner. Mrs. North relates how she became a professional embroideress.
I've always been interested in needlework. As a child, I used to do all sorts of joining up little tiny pieces of material and make a doll's dress and things like that. Well, eventually I went to a day continuation school where there wasn't any jobs going at the time, so we were glad to go and learn something. And they eventually put me onto embroidery. I couldn't do dressmaking because I'm left-handed. And of course you leave a seam the wrong way round for the right person. So I took up embroidery and I did a dress for the teacher and she was very pleased with it. And eventually I saw this advertisement in the paper for Mrs. Evershed's and I went and she was very pleased with my samples I took and I was taken on. Mrs. Evershed was a very motherly sort of person. She treated us as part of her family. The embroidery in Mrs. Evershed's was rather freer than a lot of work. One had to make it look very, very natural. We had a marvellous selection of beautiful silks to use. The work here is shaped to give the impression of feathers, the same as with the beak. It's shaded down to make it look like a beak. Now, this is a very good example of long and short embroidery and also the shading. We used to do ladies' own gardens. The lady used to bring a photograph in of her garden and then it would be painted to the size the lady required and then it would either be worked by us or the customer would work it herself. And sometimes she would have lessons on this. With this picture, the painted sky at the back is left and then the trees are worked to give the effect of a distance and thickness of a wood. All the Evershed gardens have a pathway that you can walk right through and right out of it. And it is believed that Queen Mary once said to Mrs. Evershed that a garden that hadn't got a way out was claustrophobic to her. The same technique is used on this nightdress case. The path is left without any working on it at all, and the rest is covered up with embroidery. Mrs. Evershed tried at the beginning of the war to take up some of the gold and silver wire work, and she had two of us to go to a lady who had already done gold and silver wire work in the City of London, and we went for 3 days and we learned how to do officers' badges. This is the type of wire we use. That's how it comes to us. And then here I've got a strand ready to cut, and we fold it in half so and so, and then we cut it through, and then we cut it to the lengths of stitches we require. Right. We use 2 thimbles. And now we start. We pick a stitch up and we put the needle through the hole. I eventually went to the firm I'm with now and carried on with gold and silver wire work. We like the girls to come straight from school, and we train them ourselves because we feel that we train them our way. They are taught how to pick the stitches up and thread needles, which is a very difficult thing, especially the fine needles we use. Once she gets that straight, then we put her onto a small job. Every year we do the programmes for the Royal Command Performance, which go into the Royal Box, and every year there is a different design.
The same factory in Bedworth also provides woven badges, uniform trimmings and ribbons for decorative and ceremonial use. The looms range from the ultra-modern, which can produce 200 yards of multicoloured ribbon an hour, to a machine twisting gold braid first installed in 1880. Trumpet banners and regimental colours are seen in public at events like Trooping the Colour. And the same company is also responsible for the creation of all the trimmings that make a suit of clothes into a uniform, such as the aiglets and shoulder cords that these Blues and Royals, members of the Household Cavalry, are wearing over their metal cuirasses. Mrs. Florence Doyle describes her contribution.
I'm what they call a military accoutrement maker. That consists of a lot of things, such as shoulder cords, sword knots, sashes, aiglets. This is an aiglet, and this one is for the Metropolitan Police. And they're worn like this, the front like this, attached onto the shoulder. This one, you have a sample sent to you, and you have to work out the amount of cord and also the way it's plaited. And this is how you do these. You have a long length of cord, about 6.5 yards, and then you fold it into 3 pieces, and it's plaited like this. Sometimes it can be quite a bit of a puzzle, especially to work out how much cord you take and the pattern, the way it's worked, but somehow we seem to cope with it. This is a sword knot, finished sword knot, and we start this with a wooden mole, and then we have a foundation of gimp, and after that's laid into that stitch, so it's worked with a basket under and over all the time, and increasing from the bottom till you get to the top, till it's filled in like that. And then you have a slider which is laid in the same way and also worked in basket stitch, which after you've touched the cord you fix on, and that's the finished article.
Sword knots are part of an officer's dress uniform, but not all the work is for special occasions. Uniform trimmings for day-to-day use by navies, armies and air forces all over the world are supplied by Mrs. Doyle and her one assistant, Julie Cummings. Naval cuffs are made up by machine. These are known as curls, and the lace is pleated by hand, and the pleats are then machined straight in without any tacking or preparatory hand sewing. This is work that was previously done by hand from start to finish, and it was Julie who first attempted to do the entire process on a machine, and against all expectations, succeeded. Shoulder straps, chevrons and stripes leave this small room and go all over the world.
This is a finished set of regimental tassels, and they normally hang on different regimental flags. And this is how we start them, with a wooden mole shaped like that. And then they're covered in various coloured materials that go with the flags. And then the tops are worked with what we call a 3 treble stitch, like this. And after we've completed that, we have cord which is put through the bottom of the mole and attached at the bottom. And then we have a small padding which is stitched on the bottom to make the bullion stand out. And then after we've done that, we have various coloured fringes which we stitch round the centre like that. And on the top we have fringe with bullions attached, and they are stitched on top of the green fringe round the tassel like that. And when they're all stitched on, the centre is covered up with this, which is made with wire and check and twisted up on a wheel and then stitched all round the centre to cover up the stitching of the fringes. And at the bottom I generally string them up together to hold the bullions together to stop them flipping about. These robe ornaments are for different universities, and they go down the Chancellor's robes. They consist of various sizes, from a very small 2 3/4 piece to a large 8-inch piece. The 8-inch piece has a rosette in the centre, and we have a 7-inch piece which has an olivette in the centre, a 3 1/4 piece with an olivette on the end, and the other sizes just have the small diamonds and circles. The circles are made of spangles, and they have a check loop at the back of them. The diamond in the centre is made of timber, that also has a different design loop, and that completes the set of the robe ornament. And they're stitched down the sleeves, down the sides, and on the back in various ways, whichever they asked for. When we make the diamonds, we start by having a thin cardboard cutting, and then we have a pearled wire which is wound round with cotton all round the edge of the cutting. Then we put gold timber all over it, very, very close together, until you've completely finished the diamond. The basis of the spangled circle is the same as the diamond. And after you've wound the pearled wire with all the cotton round it, you work it with fine spangles, which are placed on top of one another to make a rose effect. Years ago, when I first started it, of course I had patterns to go by it, but now time's gone on, I memorise them, you know, if anything's given to me, I do it from memory. It gives me a sort of satisfaction sometimes when I see programmes and, you know, the work that maybe I might have done towards it. It's a nice feeling to know that maybe you've done part of it. For example, the tassels on the garter robes, I've done various ones of those, and possibly they might be wearing what I've made. You never know.